In this video, I'm going to be covering the 8 reasons why your outreach probably isn't booking any meetings right now. Now, this isn't by any means an extensive list. There's a good chance that I've missed out on a few, but these are just insights based on past campaigns I've ran for myself and my clients. So if you're currently struggling with booking any meetings, or maybe only booking a few meetings and you think you should be booking more, listen into this video because it'll give you some good insight as to how you can start booking more. And if this is your first time tuning in and you don't already know who I am, my name is Shay Detherian. I'm the co-founder of AcquisitionGrowthPartner.com, and we partner with established marketing agencies to help them add an additional $60,000 to $120,000 a month within 6 to 12 months by integrating our client acquisition machine. Reason number 1 is that you're simply asking for too much commitment up front. Now, I'm a major advocate for using soft call to actions, so getting people to ask if they would be open to something or if they'd be open to receiving more information, instead of going for a hard call to action of, do you have 15 minutes next Monday to discuss this? Or do you have 30 minutes on this date or this date to catch up for a call? So if you're doing those types of call to actions and you're not booking meetings, try a soft call to action, such as, would you like more info, or would you be opposed to discussing this? Something that's a little bit more softer, and just see if that has a positive effect in terms of how many meetings you're booking. Because as I said, I'm a massive advocate for using soft call to actions, and based on my experience, I've always gotten a better response in terms of positive response rates when using those types of call to actions. I know that some people are out there, they use hard call to actions where they ask for the call in the first email, but I've tried that and it's never worked for me. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't work at all. Just in my experience, it's never worked. Now, the second reason is that you lack a social presence. So typically what happens is, if you're reaching out to someone that's never heard of you before, let's say your name's Dave from XYZ company, well, what someone's going to go ahead and do is they're going to search up your company name in Google, and then they're also going to search your name. And depending on what pops up, they're just going to go through and see if you're legit, see what you're all about, maybe check out some case studies if you have any. But this is where it becomes a problem. So if someone searches you up, your company and your first and last name, and nothing comes up, there's nothing about your company, there's no case studies, there's nothing of you online, like no digital footprint whatsoever, well, you're going to look like a scammer, and it's not going to look like you're actually a real person. And there's a high chance that the person's just going to say not interested, or they're just not going to respond to you at all. So obscurity is a massive enemy of you if you run an agency. So you want to make sure that you're online in all forms as possible. So, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, have some video content online so that when people actually go search for you in Google, there are a bunch of results that pop up. And even if your website just pops up, just like a simple website, yes, that's better than nothing, but ideally you want more than just a landing page with a few videos and testimonials on it. You want to be present on multiple platforms so that you do look like you actually run a business. And that's just the part, right? Because you could be running $1 million business, $10 million business, but if you don't look the part, there's a huge chance that they're going to ignore you because, the perception of you is that you don't look like you actually run a business. Reason number 3 is that you sound or you look like everyone else. So if you're pitching an offer that someone's heard of before, you're going to struggle to book meetings because they've probably already jumped on a bunch of calls with someone who sells something similar, and they're thinking, well, if I've already jumped on a call with person A and person B and I didn't like what they had to offer, why would I jump on a call with person C? So if you sound and look like everyone else, you're definitely going to struggle to book meetings because it's commoditized. And let's say you do book meetings with, something that does look like everyone else. There's a high chance that when you jump on that call, they're just going to price compare you and be like, I spoke with this person 3 months ago and this person 4 months ago. Here's what they charge. Can you do any cheaper? And that's not the type of conversation you want to be having, because then you can end up hating your business. And then number 4, it's sort of similar to number 1. We're asking for too much commitment up front. But number 4 is that there's too much friction in the process. Too much friction between you reaching out to them responding, and then you actually speaking to them. So a good example of this is, I used to always ask people to book in via my Calendly link, and I'd still get bookings, but I always used to struggle in terms of having a high percentage of those people actually booking in. So what I did to actually change that was I would call people up to get them to book in. So instead of waiting for them to respond back to an email, I actually physically call them. But now I don't really do that as much. I still do a little bit of it, But now instead of just sending over a Calendly link, I suggest a few times based on my calendar availability, and then they'll usually respond back with, yes, XYZ time sounds good, let's do that. And then I'll manually book it in from my end. So if you're struggling to book calls and you have a lot of friction in your process, so that could be like on your Calendly link, you might have like 10 qualifying questions. Yes, that might help you, but someone who doesn't know you, who you've reached out to via cold email or some cold outbound prospecting, well, you want to try to remove some of that friction if you have a low volume of calls. If you're getting a ton of calls, don't worry about that part, because if you get a ton of calls, you can afford to have more friction in your process, so you're weeding out people. But if you're not getting many calls, you can't afford to have that many qualifying questions throughout your process. So I'd say remove some of them. Reason number 5 is that you're simply landing in the spam. It doesn't matter if you're sending 50 a day, 100 a day, 1,000 a day. If you land in the spam where you're going to get no results, people aren't going to see your emails, and if they do see your email, you're just going to come off as a scammer, because those are the types of emails that land in spam. And if you're trying to pitch someone, especially on lead gen, if you run a lead gen company and you're landing in the spam, how are you going to help them get results if you're landing in their spam? Because what happens? You sign them on as client, you're going to land them in the spam as well. So yeah, if you're landing in the spam, you can't really do much. And there's a few moving parts with this. You could be landing in the spam because, one, your IP is affected, meaning that your IP has been blacklisted. It could be 2, that your domain is burnt, meaning, like, let's say, for example, iyGdigital.com. If you've sent too many from this domain, well, eventually that'll get blacklisted, and that takes a while to be removed. You can pay people. There are people on Fiverr who you can pay to get removed from like these different blacklist databases, but that could be another reason, is that your domain has been put on the blacklist, or just your specific email account. So underneath a domain, you have users. It could just be that that specific user, the deliverability is burnt. So it could be that if you start a new user under that domain, that you might start getting better results. So what would I implement to actually be able to overcome this, landing in the spam? I'd make sure that I do weekly checks, so that I make sure that I'm actually delivering and that my IP is good. Do that on a weekly basis, book it in the calendar. It's not fun, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. But if you're proactive about this stuff, you'll be in a good position to actually book meetings, instead of being on the back foot where you've been sending emails for a month, 2 months, and then you find out that for the past 6 weeks, you've been sending emails and landing in the spam. That's not a position you want to be in, because you're just going to be burning a ton of leads. Reason number 6 is that you haven't done any market research. So you don't know what your target market actually wants. You don't know what they hate. You don't know what they're fear. And essentially, there's a good chance you're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. So instead of just praying that what you're doing is actually working, getting a pulse as to where the market's currently at in terms of what they actually want, so you can give them what they want instead of just guessing. So I already made a video on this before, which I posted a few days ago, but you want to find out like what they want, what they don't want, what they hate, what they're afraid of, what are their language patterns. And you can either get this stuff through talking to your target market, you can get it through interviews, or you can use ChatGPT to surf the web and find out a lot of this information for you. Now with ChatGPT, you'll be limited based on how good of a prompt engineer you are, but if you're good at prompting ChatGPT, then you shouldn't have any issues. And now the 7th thing is that you don't have any case studies. So you're reaching out to these people with this grandiose claim that you're going to help them transform their business and help them make more money. But after you state something that, gets their attention when you reach out to them, you don't back it up with any proof that you've done it. And here's the thing with case studies. Case studies definitely help, and they can definitely increase the likelihood of you booking more meetings, signing more clients, and them actually having conviction that you can deliver. But you don't necessarily need to have your own case studies to get meetings in the first place. So I was on a mastermind call, and one of the other students said that he was booking 8 calls a week for one of his clients and had 0 case studies. And this was with companies who had 100 plus employees as well. So my head was spinning, because I always thought that, to book calls of these type of companies, you need at least some form of proof or case studies that you've done it for other people. And so I asked him, like, how are you booking these types of meetings with these types of companies? And essentially what he said is he's pulling from industry specific case studies and positioning it as, this is what your competition did, and this is the system they used. We could help you do something similar. Now you want to be careful with this, because when you're reaching out with, a popular case study of maybe a popular competitor of the type of company you're reaching out to, you're not claiming that you're the one that helped them do this. you're just letting them know that this is what this person did and this is the result they got. I could help you do something similar. So don't reach out to people lying, saying that you helped this company do X, because you didn't. You don't want to position yourself that way, and building a relationship off of lies is never going to be a good relationship or foundation to build the relationship off of. And the last reason, which is reason number 8, is that you have an offer that nobody wants, which comes back to the market research, what they want, what they don't want, what they hate, all those types of things. The reason why you need to go so heavy in the market research is so that you have solid foundations and you have really good insights as to where the market currently is, and then you can build a really good offer based off of the insights from the market research that you've done. And that's why typically when you're doing the market research, the best type of feedback you can get is from the sales calls or specifically interviewing people within that market, because those are going to be the most up-to-date insights. The market evolves quickly, and the insights that you get today might not be relevant a year from now. So that's why you need to be constantly updating your research. Your market research is a living organism. It's not set in stone once you write it out. So you'll be consistently changing that. So that's the first thing, is that underneath offer, you're selling something that people don't want, so they're not really interested. Or number 2, this is specifically important if you're targeting bigger companies, is that there's no risk reversal. Because bigger companies like to manage the downside. They're not really too concerned with the upside. They're more so concerned with protecting the downside and the risk on their behalf. So what would a risk reversal be? You'd probably already heard it. Like, you've read the Purple Book, $100 million offers, XYZ, or you don't pay. We'll help you get 10 leads, or you don't pay. We'll help you make a 2x ROI within a certain amount of time frame, or we work for free. These types of things, just making sure you're hedging the downside for your potential clients, so that if they do become a client, there's very little risk on their behalf. Now, hopefully this video gave you some more insights as to how you could start booking more meetings with your outreach. But if you're doing at least $30,000 per month and you have some good case studies and you'd like help adding an additional $60,000 to $120,000 a month over the next 6 to 12 months, go ahead and click the first link in the description to apply to partner with us. Now, you're not obliged to at all. The main thing is that you watch these videos and you actually get value from them. But hopefully you found this video valuable. I'll see you later.